Welcome to Unfrazzle, a podcast for solo business owners with a big vision who are ready for a kinder, more sustainable approach to productivity. I'm Louise Miller, and each week I share bite-sized insights to help you step away from the hustle, stop faffing and stay focused so you can make your brilliant ideas happen and make a bigger impact in the world. Before we dive into today's episode, if you enjoy what I'm sharing here on Unfrazzle and you'd like to support the podcast, you can buy me a cuppa by going to buymeacoffee.com/Louise Miller and making a one-off donation. I'll pop a link to that in the show notes. Okay, grab yourself a cuppa and let's get started. The woman sitting beside me in a group of business owners starts chuckling as the realisation hits. That thing that she's been doing in an effort to get organised when her head is spinning and there's just too much to do is not actually helping. So yes, it might leave her feeling great for a few hours, but is she any closer to actually getting stuff done? No, not really. And the others smile and nod as the penny drops because they've been doing it too. And I've done it myself, so I totally understand. So half an hour earlier, I'd asked the women in the room to write down where they would need to look to get a full picture of everything going on in their lives. I asked them to look at where they're keeping their to-dos, their business tasks, their commitments outside of their business, life admin, family stuff, all of that good stuff. And I invited you to do that exercise as well in last week's episode of the podcast. And the response I got from that group of women was exactly as I would expect from a group of creative business owners who are juggling so many things. Their tasks were kept in notebooks and emails and scribbled on lists and post-its and typed into apps on phones. There were appointments noted in paper diaries, electronic calendars, family calendars and stuck to the fridge. And then, of course, there's all that stuff that they're keeping in their heads. So we explore all that together for a few minutes, and then I continue with my session to help them find their productivity flow. And when we reach the end, the woman sitting next to me starts to giggle. And she says to me, "I've just realised where I'm going wrong. I have lists all over the place, and whenever that starts to feel overwhelming and stressful, I write another list. And when I've done that, I feel really great because I think I've achieved something, but actually all I've really done is move things around." And I smiled in recognition, and the other women in the room who could hear this conversation, they smiled too. And I'm sure you've done it as well, haven't you? Right? We all have. It's a bit like washing the dishes, right? When they're all over the kitchen in a complete mess, it's really stressful. So stacking them up by the side of the sink might make things feel tidier, but you still haven't actually washed the dishes and that job still needs to be done. When it comes to your to-dos, it feels great to round them all up and put them on a lovely new list. And of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if that is your only strategy every time you feel overwhelmed, think of how much extra time you're spending getting organised. Time which could be better spent actually doing some of the things on your list. You see, writing a new list works in the short term, right? It gives you a feeling of satisfaction and it might help you get things done for a day or two. But in a few months' time, you'll most probably end up repeating the cycle. It's not a long-term solution. Here's the problem. To-do lists are great for gathering everything together in one place, but they're terrible for helping you actually do the thing. Because a typical to-do list doesn't help you prioritise. It doesn't invite you to consider how much time and energy you have and when you might want to actually do the thing you're adding to the list. A typical to-do list just keeps getting longer, so that every time you look at it, you end up fixating on all the things you haven't done, which makes you feel like you're failing. So what can you do instead? Well, you can find a way of getting organised that's sustainable and supportive in the long term, that feels good to you, that will support you in getting things out of your head and organised so you know where they are and can find them when you need them. And when you're no longer worried about forgetting something and you know everything is organised and under control, you don't just free up more time to get stuff done, but more creative bandwidth for new projects to emerge. You spend less time writing new lists and more time actually doing the things that will really move the needle for you in your business. So I know you might be thinking, I've been trying to do that for years. I know so many people who are bouncing around from one system to the next, waiting for the one that is going to make all of the difference. And usually I would say to you that there is no such thing. There is no magic trick, magic hack that is going to suddenly solve all of your problems. However, I do teach a way of organising your to-dos that I believe really can make a difference for most people. So it's a 3-week course that will teach you this tried and tested way of organising your to-dos so that you can break that pattern of writing a new list every time things feel chaotic. And the difference between the way that I teach that and what I see a lot of other people teaching and a lot of other things that are out there is that this is not a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. The guidance that I share does have a structure to it that I know works, but it also encourages you to find what works and find what feels good to you. And I'm running the course live starting in February 2025, which means you will get some one-to-one time with me so that I can help you make sure that the system you're creating is sustainable for you in the long term. So if you're interested in that, I will pop a link to find out more in the show notes. But just to let you know, the doors will close on the 7th of February 2025. So if that is something you're interested in, you will need to be quick. So as always, I hope that this helps. Even if you don't come join me in Tame Your To-Do List, I hope it's given you some things to think about that will help you find a way of breaking that cycle of just writing a new list over and over and over again. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you for listening to Unfrazzle. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who needs a dose of calm productivity in their life. And I'd love it if you could leave me a rating and a review, as that will help more people discover this podcast. If you'd like to hear more from me to help you stop faffing and take back control of your time, you'll find a link to join my mailing list in the show notes, and I would really love for you to join us. So thanks so much for your support, and I look forward to seeing you next time.